have today somebody that I think you guys are going to really like hearing from. First of all, he's got a really cool name, but he's even got a cooler job. And then on top of that, he's got some amazing cool statistics and info to share with us. So his name is T.G. Gallaudet. I love saying his name because it's so weird, and I think I actually get it right most of the time. And so he is our friend. Oh, check this out, TJ. I forgot to show you. Doing a hat switch. There we go. There's my hat in honor of, there we go. Got the Zillow hat on.
Love it.
Got Zillow
the Space
going
Needle.
on today. We got the Space Needle up there. So welcome. Why don't you introduce yourselves to everybody about what exactly the Director of Broker Relations is at Zillow?
Sounds great. Hi, everyone. TG Gallaudet. Thanks, Stan, for having me. I lead our broker relations team, which is focused on creating partnerships with brokers and franchisors across the country to really dig in and explain the value that Zillow provides agents and brokers across their companies. And I've been here for about 6.5 years. Before coming to Zillow, I was an agent in Palm Springs. So from 2005 to 2013, I sold real estate with my family, loved it. In 2013, I moved to New York City to marry my wife. And just last year, with what we're calling the Great Reshuffling due to COVID, I have now relocated to New Jersey. So I'm live from New Jersey. I made my wife promise me that we would never move here, but I've done it, and it's actually better than I thought. And so anyway, happy to be here and talk about all things Zillow and see my friends from SoCal virtually.
Fantastic. So everybody, if you are in fact watching and you have questions for TG, the way this thing goes down, right, like it always does on the Orange County Realtors interviews that I do, use the chat screen, get into that chat screen, put your comments in there. I am opening mine up right now, so I'll be able to track them. Put the questions for TG in there, put the questions for me in there. Like always, remember, this is 2021 in the world of Zoom and sometimes wacky Wi-Fi. So if one of us freeze, we'll be right back. We're not going anywhere, but if it gets choppy, let us know. And put your comments, your questions in nonstop. And then remember, when this is all done, the recording is available on it. I think we have somebody monitoring Facebook Live. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in there and they'll throw them on the chat for me. And questions when this whole thing is done, you can reach out to me and send me an email and just ask what's going on too. So boom, Randy's already coming in with some questions. So let's check it out. So he asked a question that's kind of interesting, right? Will Zillow be offering any franchise opportunities? So that's a little cart before the horse, but it is a great question, Randy. So let's talk about what happened first in order to prompt that question, which I'm sure a lot of people are kind of chomping at the bit to hear. Tell us about this whole Zillow brokerage thing and what went down and why. I mean, everybody, formal fair disclosure, right? I'm a big fan of Zillow, have been for a decade. I've collaborated with them. I know there's a lot of Zillow people who not maybe fans as much as me out there, but I'm a big fan of Zillow personally. And so I think you guys offer, and Zillow offers a lot of opportunities to agents, but everybody doesn't see it that way. So let's talk about this whole Zillow brokerage thing, what's going on. And then maybe we can get in and talk and answer Randy's questions. Everybody else, fire in the questions as TG's going. You guys became a broker. Why?
Yeah, great question. And I know that's top of mind. So we became a brokerage, simply put, because of Zillow Offers. And our Zillow Offers program, right, offers, direct kind of an iBuyer experience to sellers. And we felt that we could provide, or we know we could provide the best experience by being licensed and working with those sellers to talk and educate them about Zillow Offers. Now, what we know is that Zillow Offers are not for everyone. They're still for the minority. And really the iBuyer experience is for the minority of iBuyers out there. And what this has allowed us to do is provide amazing partner leads that we're trying to continue to work through and create and optimize the value to premier agents and brokers to connect sellers with traditional agents when they want to sell their home through that route. And it's been great. It's been super successful. It's allowed us to streamline that experience for sellers and provide more value in turn to the brokers and agents that we work with. I mean, so that's the high level reason why we became a broker. And there's some additional kind of some kind of knock-on effects or additional follow-on pieces that this has created, which are we've joined MLSs across the country. And I know you'll see in CRMLS or CDAR or the MLS, CLAW, you'll see Zillow as a brokerage member, right? And this allows us to get streamlined data to display on our website, limit the countless number of support issues and other data related issues on our site. Instead of managing, tens of thousands of feeds, it's considerably less. And so we've been able to streamline.
I know that's one part that's awesome, because you take a listing and you do something and then you change a picture and then the seller was all over you because they're like, why isn't it changed on Zillow? And it's like, well, we don't control that portal and they lag and it gets there. Now you guys like have that feed that it just changes when it changes.
It changes. And
awesome, right?
Exactly, Dan. And like the MLS is the source of the truth, right? So you update the MLS listing and it'll change quickly on Zillow. Before it was, hey, where's the listing coming from? Is it coming from this aggregator or this data source? And there were conflicts and picture problems. And so all of those issues have been fixed, which is amazing. And so there's a ton of benefits for us to streamline the experience for our partners and agents by joining the MLS, which is amazing. And the last point I'll say before taking any follow-up questions is just that our model hasn't changed, right? I mean, we are leaning on a partnership model. We believe that we can serve the consumers the best when we connect them with the best brokers and agents in that area. And that's what we're focused on. And we're really excited about the advancements that we're working on. And so that hasn't changed. And happy to dig into any of those pieces in more detail.
I think it's interesting too. And as you guys have questions, we've got a couple up there, so we'll get to those. As you guys, it's always been a buyer thing for the most part, right? Like you get buyer leads from Zillow. It's been very difficult to get seller leads. And so that's what
Zillow, just not sorry to interrupt, but that is what Zillow offers is exciting to me about is we're really trying to perfect the seller leads. That's the headline with Zillow offers.
Yeah, because most people, and I don't know the stat, but I've heard Caps or other people at Zillow talk about it. Most people who reach out to you for an offer then end up not wanting to do said offer. But now you guys know that there's a potential seller out there that you can then turn over to people. So it is now finally being able to create not only buyer leads, but seller leads for people who are part of your world, right? That live in that little microcosm. So, all right. So with that, will Zillow be offering any franchise opportunities in South OC, or let's just say anywhere?
That is not our plan, Randy. I love the question. So it's not our plan to sell franchises or get into representing third parties, at scale as a brokerage. So we will lean on partners, brokers, agents, teams to service buyers and sellers in large that come to our site.
Perfect. And you guys, just so you know, there's also a Q&A screen. I didn't see it earlier and now it's popped up. So there's a Q&A screen. So you guys can throw in Q&A or chat. I'm monitoring both. So Q&A is better because just I know it's a question versus chat. Maybe you guys are rapping with each other, but don't worry, I can see it in either spot. All right. Yeah. And then
so Randy says, please put his name on the short list if things change. That's funny, Randy. I mean, and I'll just say this because I know, a lot of people are thinking like, oh, sure, in 2 years, they're going to change or whatever. And like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'll be the first to say that. But what I do know is that we fundamentally believe in this partnership model. I mean, we're investing heavily. We're working with premier agents across the country, and we believe it is a huge, will remain a huge part of our business. And so there's no question about that. And so I really want to kind of double down on that point and enforce that like, that's what I'm excited about. And that's what the company's excited about in working with brokers and agents going forward.
And then Fred asked a question. And with this, everybody, TG is super smart. but might not be the go-to guy for all questions on all topics, depending on how technical you get. And this one seems a little tiny on the technical side, so I'm not sure if you'll actually be able to answer this. Why can't Zillow use all car California? Well, you know that you're from Palm Springs. Car contracts and feel they need to use their own, like on the ZO properties specifically, I think is what he's talking about here. On the ZO properties, we find out here that Zillow is not using the car RPA a lot, but they're wanting the contract written on their own form.
Yeah, got it. Okay, great question. And I am not the Zillow offers specialist on this. I'll be super transparent though and take a guess here. I think it's more of just a national scale thing for Zillow. So instead of managing a bunch of individual state level contracts across the country, I think Zillow is looking at this from a national standpoint. And we always evolve, and we always look at the best way to service the customers and partners that use our services. And so that could change, and that's also a guess, I have to say, but I can follow up with Dan and provide a better answer. But that's what
I actually know Fred, so I can follow up with Fred. He's somebody that's not a stranger. I know who Fred is. So
yeah, I think it's just a national company scale thing on that piece. But I'd love to hear if you think that is inhibiting our ability to do deals or et cetera. So love to hear some of those points.
And I'll throw one thing out there, Fred, as well, and TG. I believe it's also a dot loop issue. CAR will not license their documents to Zillow to be able to use in dot loop. And since Zillow is using dot loop for their transaction manager, and they can't have those forms in there, it's creating a problem too. So I do know they're working through that issue with CAR still, but that could be another issue, Fred, just so you know.
Great point. Yeah.
And then Cody, how to be a buyer broker with Zillow? And what percentage of commission do you offer for those buyer brokers? So there's probably an opportunity to talk about a couple of different programs there real quick, if you want to just kind of touch on them.
Yeah, you bet. So we've launched what we're calling our Flex program, and probably a year and a half or 2 years ago at this point, which is a referral based lead program, which I think you're referring to. Is that Fred? Yeah, Fred.
No, that was Cody. So in the Q&A, Cody has asked about that. And so he's probably asking about Flex. You got PA and Flex. So talk about this.
Yeah. And so they're actually both under the Premier Agent or PA umbrella. We have something called MBP, which is market-based pricing. And then we have a product called Flex. And market-based pricing is really an upfront pay for advertising product, which I'm sure all familiar with. It's been our go-to staple product over the last decade or so. And then there is additionally this flavor of Flex, a referral program that we're just starting to roll out and work with different partners on. And we're excited about the Flex experience. It requires us to put some skin in the game, obviously, and really work closely with partners because and it aligns us on our mutual goal to delight the customer and close transactions, which is super exciting. But we want to, in order to get there together, the way to do that is to work with us through our MVP product. And so we can work together and make sure that we have a working relationship, that we can close transactions on Zillow's platform. And then we move to a Flex model once we have a bit of a proven relationship on MVP as a first step. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So a little bit of there. If you guys have other questions, keep them coming. So let's go on to, I want to keep going down this road real quick of changes. One, Zillow becomes a broker. Two, Zillow throws out $500 million to Showing Time. Good buddy of mine, Scott. I'm super excited for him for putting this tech together and how he's being able to be rewarded for it. And you guys obtain Showing Time. Zillow does. Talk about that. I know in the very beginning, there's a little bit of an uproar about it. It seems to have died down now. But so tell us, why did you guys make that move?
Yeah, sure. And I first of all, I totally acknowledge, the noise. There was a lot of uproar, I think, when we did it. And I'll come back to this, but I posit, I think maybe that noise was caused by, we made a bunch of announcements in succession and maybe they just all compounded. It was soon after we had joined MLSs, et cetera. But so let's get back to that in a second, because I don't otherwise understand what all the noise was about, and happy to engage in conversation here to better understand. But the reason we did it is because we are fundamental believers in how important scheduling showings are, and automating that process for agents, sellers, buyers, consumers, for everyone. And I think that's super underscored by COVID, right? So in California, we know there's no open houses. And so how important was showing time for everyone on this video over the last year, right? I mean, I know my parents are still actively selling real estate in Palm Springs, doing really well. It's been a banner year. And without open houses, I mean, everyone can relate to the put the house on the market on Thursday, Friday at 8:30 a.m. You have back to back to back to back showings all day through the weekend. And without scheduling software, how can you do it, right? So we know it's here to stay. We know it provides a lot of value. On Zillow, tour schedules, we allow buyers to actually schedule tours on our site. Those submits have increased since doing that, so we create more leads that way. It's also a signal for a higher intent buyer, somebody that wants to come see the home. So all of those pieces really make us bullish and a believer in what showing time can do. And I think a real important point to underscore here too is that showing time is valuable if everybody uses it, right? So we want to create efficiencies for Zillow Premier agents, but not to be exclusive. This will remain an open platform for everybody, and we want to improve the product for everybody over time. So we're really excited about this acquisition, which hasn't closed. It's still under kind of the customary review process. But we're really excited about the prospect of what it can do for us, and making a better product for the industry in total. So that's our focus. It's just like other kind of B2B or B2B or B2C, really B2B products that we have, like Loop, Bridge, our 3D home product. All of those are committed to be open to the industry to use to add value to their business.
And I made a list here. Thank you for that. If you guys have questions about that or anything else, keep them coming. I made a list here of things to talk about just to kind of keep me on track.
Yeah.
But let's jump ahead just a little bit right now, and talk a little, and then we can go back into. I want to talk about some economist numbers. I know Zillow's great at crunching data. I want to talk about some other things, but let's talk about the new things that Zillow has rolling out, because you mentioned one of them just a second ago. So let's talk about, we're going to shift into what can agents who are watching this do to maybe win more listings, because we talked a little bit about inventory. You put it on Thursday, you schedule it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's all booked up, and by Monday you're opening escrow, right? So being a buyer's agent today is like the Hunger Games, sort of. Right? Maybe the odds be forever in your favor or whatever, but being a listing agent is pretty super solid. So what can agents be doing? Let's jump ahead to best practices for agents to win more listings, and what Zillow, in crunching all the data and everything they've seen, what can our guys and gals here watching learn?
Sounds great. Yeah, listings are king, like they always have been, right? Can I give a 30-second intro to this topic?
Oh, 100%.
Which is just to say that, I was talking to our economist yesterday, and this market is not showing signs of slowing down anytime soon. It's crazy. And I think one of the answers to differentiate yourself as an agent is to empower your customers with data to show how insightful and knowledgeable you are. So I brought some data points that you can all take down and write. And I think this will help in conversations with sellers to win more listings. But a couple just econ trends to look at really quickly here are Zillow predicts roughly that by the end of this year, we'll have, I think, around 6.2 million existing home sales by the end of the year, which is the most since 2006. Year over year, we predict a price appreciation increase on average of 11.7%. So from this April to next April, we had roughly 12% price increase. Q1 saw a 13% year over year increase. And just in this quarter alone, we're thinking that we're projecting 4% increase for this quarter alone. So signals are strong that the economy will continue to grow. And there's a couple of additional factors. The fact that people have cash kind of in their savings account, piling up from COVID and not doing anything. And the fact that COVID has changed the workforce to create flexibility and people can move, right? People can move.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that is so one, they didn't spend their money. For the last year, people have been saving, so they have a lot of money, but they've also, now there's this other thing. Let's talk about that the great, what's it called? The great
reshuffling. Great reshuffling.
Talk a little bit about that.
Right. So I think, the knock against, prices increasing, or the concern, I guess, for economists overall is inflation, right? As homes become more and more expensive, will they become out of reach for some buyers, right? And become a problem. I think the counter argument to that, and I think something that we see too, is folks have a lot of cash, or more than ever, because they've been sitting on the sidelines with COVID. There's also this flexibility, the great reshuffling, Dan, like you just said, that allows folks to potentially move to other places and that are more affordable because they can be flexible at work. So I think all of those things, again, are going to contribute to a longer runway with this bull market going on in real estate, which is exciting, right? Because I think it's good for everyone.
Everyone's talking about the bubble, right? But it seems like this market, there's no bubble. This market has legs.
That's right.
I like to say, right?
And I got crushed in Palm Springs. I'll be the first to say it, in 2008, when the market just tanked, right? And I think that's top of mind for everyone. But the key difference now that my comments, reinforced, is that the inventory is so tight. There's not enough homes available, and provided in that with these other factors is kind of creating this perfect storm that should continue.
I know he's not with you guys anymore, but I saw Spencer on Squawk Box about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And he was laying out some numbers, because he's a big data guy, obviously. And he was laying out some numbers for, here's what is the problem, is the lack of inventory. And then we even had a bigger lack of inventory because we couldn't build during COVID. A lot of building got halted. So it's made it even bigger. And he says, at the rate we're going and how many homes it'll take. And he did this weird math. And the guy on the Squawk Box was like, wait a minute. He's like doing some calculation. He's like, you're saying that this market has 7 years left in it based on that math, because of supply and demand issues. And he was like, just telling you what the numbers are, man. Right. I mean, it's like the numbers are the numbers. But this market does, I know a lot of agents are talking about, prices are getting too high. It's probably going to fall later on this year. I don't think is it going to fall this summer? I think is it going to fall in 2023 or 2024 summers, maybe, depending on what keeps happening. Right. Right.
I mean, I like to think I'm old enough to say, like, hey, nobody knows what's going to really happen, right? And 7 years seems like a long time. But I'll say this, like, if you're looking at just this year, all signs point, there's a real meaningful, tangible signs that say, like, this ain't slowing down, right? I mean, people haven't even the country hasn't opened up yet. So people are super excited about that. The work policy, Zillow just went completely remote. So folks at Zillow can move anywhere. And I think that those type of policies may continue to be created by companies that want to differentiate and recruit more talent, right? And so that's going to be a differentiator for them. So I think, absolutely the things look good. And I would stand by that. And at a minimum, 2021, to your point, 22, I mean, looks good. So I think given that we can,
let's talk about data. You mentioned that, if they can give their people data, and I didn't until you said it, I hadn't thought about it. So I hadn't looked. I pull up a lot of economist reports, read a lot of different reports on my own, but where would you suggest? Is there some place that Zillow keeps economist reports or data that maybe the average Joe real estate agent who's watching this can go on to Zillow.com and find some data?
Great question. Yeah. Love it. Love the lead in, Dan. It's Zillow.com/research, I think is the URL. And if it's not that, you just go to Zillow.com and go to the bottom of the page and you'll see a link to research there and click on that. And not enough people go to this. It's a treasure trove of amazing data, and you can dig in at the local level. I think you can go by county. I don't know about zip code, but definitely by county and major metro. And so, and the data is refreshed often. You can see reports, and you can dig into your local areas and look at different graphs and stuff. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take long to get a sense of the market, to be able to talk to buyers and sellers and really gain their trust and confidence. And so I think that's a really great place to go and look to have better conversations at the listing presentation table to win more listings. So I think to your leading question on this whole, conversation we started, like, how do you win more listings? I think that's one. I got a couple ideas, but going to Zillow research is a good one.
So check this out. I just literally didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I just always go to Google and be like, Zillow latest economic forecast. Right. And then I find stuff that way, right? So the fact that I can just go to the research, I literally didn't even know, I've been using that portal for 10 years. Didn't know that it was there. So that's actually pretty cool. I thought you were going to tell everybody to like Google Zillow economic forecast as well.
It's another way to do it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's very cool. So one way to get listings is to be more knowledgeable, how to differentiate yourself, know more than your competition. That's a kind of a standard play, right? In any market, I think, that helps you get listings. What other cool tools does Zillow have available for not just the people who are writing big checks for Zillow leads, but you guys have all kinds of tools and options available just for every agent out there, regardless. Let's talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, that sounds great. So do you agree with this? I really think that there's a big opportunity in focusing on a niche market, like as a listing agent, focusing on a certain neighborhood or just really marketing yourself as a niche agent in a local area.
100% agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I am all about that whole cliche, the riches are in the niches. Like I'm a firm believer in that statement. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I think, a couple ways to do that is, number one, I mean, it's not rocket science here, but what I love doing is, build out your profile. I'm sure most people on Zillow do this, and they have a profile, but, as many probably here know that even with a warm referral, the buyer or seller is going to Google you. Zillow profile will come up on the first page because of our SEO kind of juice. And so have a significant profile with your past sales and your active listings and all that. And really highlight your local expertise and talk about, double down on your kind of local market share and expertise, on the profile. I think consumers love to see it on Zillow as kind of this like third party source as opposed to a personal website, although that's very important too. And I would consider in some cases, like I know my mom does this, she'll advertise her Zillow profile actually, which is really cool. So even outside of Zillow, and I promise this is not a Zillow plug, but I really think this works. And Google AdWords or some other digital media, you can just, instead of going to your website, you can go to your profile, and it adds credibility. I think consumers are used to seeing that. They see all your reviews, your 5 stars. It's clear, it's concise. There's a contact form. It's a great way to promote your business. So I think that's just kind of a basic, quick idea. The other point I want to point out is the agent finder on Zillow is used often by consumers, but also other agents to create referrals, right? So if you're looking for an agent, you have a customer looking for an agent in San Francisco that's moving up there, Zillow Agent Finder is often a way that other agents find referrals. And so if you're prevalent on the Agent Finder, and by prevalent, I mean having lots of reviews or putting your past sales there, that's a way to stand out and get more business just from the Agent Finder alone. So you can additionally spend money on Premier Agent zip codes to bring you local buyer leads in those markets you specialize in. But aside from those things, let's again double down on the additional free value stuff, which is our 3D home product. you can go into a listing today and capture a 3D home, which is a kind of a virtual tour of your listing for free on your website. And so you can do this personally, or if you're a busy listing agent, empower your photographer to do it, which I recommend doing. And you can capture the full walkthrough video for free. And if you do that, homes with 3D home virtual tours on Zillow have 45% more saves. And what's the stat? They sell 10% faster than homes that don't. So I think those are just two compelling data points to bring to the listing presentation table, right? And say, I'm thinking ahead. I want to position you as best as I can. I'm going to use this free tool. You don't have to say that part to them, but I'm going to use this tool to set you apart on Zillow. And here's the data that proves that. So I think those are some interesting ways to differentiate yourself and really talk to the seller about how you leverage those different tools on Zillow. Those are specific to Zillow to help them. I also have some like personal.
The 3D tour is awesome. I mean, it has been just a phenomenal tool for us over the last year and a half. That is just a great tool at the listing. First, it's a great tool because you do get more views, you do get more saves, but it's at the listing table itself. What are you going to do that everybody else is going to do? Everyone's going to say, professional photography, put it on a lockbox, get it advertised on all the portals, right? You're not going to do open houses anymore, but the list is rather the same, right? Well, we even do a video. Okay, but are you doing a 3D video? And are you putting that on Zillow, which is the #1 searched portal, right? I mean, there's really some leverage tools in there that an agent can use for free.
Yep.
Right. It's not like they got to pay the extra $1,000 to use this tool or to have that show up on the list. It's just a free tool. So it is a really big differentiator, I think.
And telling people the why that you nailed, right? Like, it's not just a laundry list of things you're going to do, but it's why you're doing them and they actually drive value. I think that helps differentiate you.
Yep. Cool. All right. So we got niche marketing.
Can I offer a quick, and I'm talking a lot, so I'll try to jump in.
These guys listen to me all the damn time. So they're perfectly happy to not listen to me. I'm pretty certain.
I just have to share a story. I just finally closed on a house in New Jersey last week, which is awesome. We were looking for a year. We were one of the buyers out there that, so here, another Zillow data point. We interviewed a panel of premier agents, and the feedback we got was that, on average, their buyers submitted at least 4 offers, right? Which I'm sure is probably much higher in Orange County. But anyway, I submitted a bunch of offers, and I worked with a great agent. That was one of the first things that I sought to find. And it was such little inventory that I found myself actually putting some postcards into the mailbox and trying to find sellers myself. And it worked in that I got some callbacks, and my intention was to get them interested and then, connect my realtor and have, this was not a play to cut the realtor out. It was a play to find inventory and find listings, especially the homes that I liked. Anyway, my overall point here is that strategy failed miserably. Not because I didn't hear back from sellers. I did. I think I put in like 5 postcards and I think I heard back from 3. But like, when a seller and a buyer are communicating directly, it's not a recipe for success. It took me a long time to figure out what their motivation was or if they were willing to. And I plugged in my realtor as soon as I could, who helped me get to the bottom line point. But I think my message here is, and I'm sure I'd love to hear if people are doing this at all, but like, I think that's an awesome service that agents could do today, is to do some door knocking and prospecting and postcards in letters in mailboxes, advocating for their clients, saying, listen, I have clients ready to go. Come to me and let's talk about a selling strategy if you're interested. This is probably fairly simple, but like, I think that's a huge value proposition that you can offer buyers today, because it's another way to unlock inventory.
I agree. And so here's what I see a lot of, interestingly. I see a lot of agents say, one, it doesn't work, but I can tell you it does work. Like we have proof of that as well, right? But they do it a little bit too blanket is a little bit thing that I see. I'm just
Yeah.
going to send them to all 200 homes in this neighborhood, right?
Yep.
Versus like, hey, they didn't want the 2 stories. They only wanted a 1 story. So they didn't want the 1, they wanted a 2, or it had to have a pool, right? And so, and by sending out 200, it can be expensive. They don't even fit. But if you really take the time to dial in, like you said, the appropriate houses, something that they would actually be interested in, you can handwrite it instead of print it.
Yes.
You can hand deliver it instead of mail it. And all of those
Yes.
things by niching in, by focusing and not just like, I'm just going to throw a lot of shit out there and see what sticks, by really like focusing in. I think that's such a niche tool that I know countless agents right now who are doing that and picking up listings, not like listings a day or a week, but here and there, a month
Yeah.
or a quarter. And a month or a quarter for a lot of other agents right now, extra listings is pretty good, especially in our price point here in Orange County.
Awesome. And Dan, maybe it's even a service that you offer to buyers. Maybe that's how it starts. Maybe you talk to buyers and say, look, like the reality is, as you everybody knows, there's not a lot of inventory. I want to find out what you want. I want to find out what the neighborhood you want to be in. And I will go canvas specific homes in those neighborhoods for you and do the handwritten note, do the personal, do the door knocking if you can. And maybe that gives you more credibility with the sellers too. And you can be real specific, and that will increase the conversion of those conversations as well. I don't know, just spitballing here, but maybe it's a service you offer the buyers, and then that also gives you a stickier buyer and more opportunity to close that deal as well.
Yeah, because you're going out trying to create inventory, not just
Yeah,
not getting to them and saying, hey, another one came on the market. If that's all they needed you for, right? There are, again, portals that provide that info now. We are no
I've
longer
heard of
the
those.
gatekeepers of information, as is old, that's been going around for a couple of years, right? We're not the gatekeepers of the information anymore. Right now, we have to provide value. And value isn't like just letting somebody know something came on the market. They can find that themselves today, right? But letting them know that you're creating something that no one else knows about, that'll be less competitive, that, you know, they will have kind of exclusivity. There's a lot of value there right now for
Great.
people.
Well said. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me see. Fred asked a question. It's a little bit off topic, but let's handle it before I forget. And then I want to get into some other things here. He wants to know about the leases, right?
Yeah.
What's up with leases or rental listings on Zillow? They used to be free. It looks like they're not anymore. Not necessarily all on the feed. So what happened there?
Yeah, great question. We don't take rental listings through IDX. So IDX is the concept, or is the feed in which we take the for sale listings directly from the MLS. We are creating MLS feeds to get listings directly from the MLS in certain instances, and we're trying to do that, I think, with the majority of the MLSs in California. But we've moved to a paid inclusion model to do that, and it's really for a couple of reasons. Number one, we found that by requiring payment, so paid inclusion means that we require payment to get the rentals on Zillow. By doing that, it increases our data accuracy. Prior to this, we were taking the feeds from many different sources, some of which weren't accurate, and some of which would stay on Zillow for too long, right? And just to get leads or something like that, and wouldn't provide an accurate representation of the market. So kind of the first point here is that this creates a better, more accurate display of what's available. And number two, candidly, it also creates a revenue opportunity for Zillow. And, I mean, we are a company that is providing this content to a large audience. And that's a way for us to monetize it, to be direct.
Okay, awesome. I got a question in the Q&A. Let me get to it. After a long time in real estate, I'm thankful to have gotten many excellent reviews on Zillow, but a year ago, someone posted a negative review, and it might not have been true. If it may have been a friend or relative of my elderly client, little bit of story there. Why can't I get Zillow to remove it? I can provide documentation that we were in escrow and had other offers and that those buyers changed their minds, but I didn't want to embarrass him online by replying. Any advice for not just a bad review, because you guys that just happens, right? But a bad review that might be completely unfounded, although we probably always think they're unfounded, but a bad review that there might be something like that. Is there anything to be done about that?
Yes. I mean, so we have really, I mean, I'll start by saying this. We have really stringent review standards because by being stringent and having a bias towards kind of keeping reviews up there, it creates credibility with our platform and something that consumers can trust, right, to read, which is ultimately good for the agents on the platform. Okay. So given that, what can you do when you get a bad review? If it's fraud, and we have tons of like checks to make sure that they're valid reviews when we post them. So if it's fraudulent, or if it's truly fraudulent, we will, if it meets certain criteria, we will investigate and potentially take it down. You just have to contact us, and you can flag the review and indicate what happened there. But to be honest, it is the minority of the times that we determine that they're fraudulent for a bunch of reasons. But if they are, we'll absolutely take it down. The second thing is, which I know this may not be comforting, but it is true, bad reviews are an opportunity. And I wouldn't be embarrassed. I wouldn't feel bad about putting this person on the spot, because everybody on Zillow, I mean, on average, everybody has very high reviews. And a poor review allows the agent to respond. So you can respond online. It's a great way for the consumer to hear your voice. And we all know that there's crazies on the internet out there, right? I mean, have you read Amazon reviews lately?
Yeah, right.
It's you got to like dig through a needle in a haystack just to find one you could trust. And so I think everybody has that lens when they're reading. And if you come back with a clear, concise, honest reply, that can actually be better for you than just a series of 5-star reviews, and help the consumer understand what a good agent you are.
And I think, and unfortunately too, you didn't mention it because you're really nice and I'm not. Sometimes it's the lens, like their journey, the customer's journey, and I don't know what this particular review said at all, right? I'm just talking in hypotheticals now. Said, you know what, we were in escrow. They did a really bad job. We ended up having to cancel escrow and we couldn't get the house of our dreams. And I completely blame this agent. Now that might not be fair at all, right? Yeah. Because, but everything I said was probably true.
Right?
They were in escrow. They were asking for an unreasonable repair request that the seller refused to do. So then it fell apart. They blamed the buyer's agent as a result of that.
Yeah.
And then had to cancel the escrow and now didn't get to buy the house of their dreams. That's all true, but it depends on which side or what lens you're looking through. Like that would not be a fraudulent review. To them, that is a very true explanation of their real estate journey in that transaction, right? And so that's the kind of opportunity you're talking about, is maybe how to kind of talk about that inside of your response. Be like, we're so sorry we're not able to get that repair request through, because, they just didn't want to replace the whole roof because it had a couple missing shingles or whatever, right? Yeah. There's some opportunity for you to talk back just a little bit. So even though the lens, we might think it's fraudulent, it wasn't true. It wasn't because of me at all. On their side, they kind of view it that way, unfortunately. And so I think that's sometimes why you guys don't remove them.
That's a good point. And I think in those instances, it gives a better platform to just do what you exactly said, Dan, right? Like explain why not, make it clear to the reader that like it was out of your control.
Okay. A friend of mine over at a Coldwell office just asked, what happens to the house after ZO? And I know you're not the ZO guy, but I think this one's totally in your wheelhouse. Are the homes being sold later? And if so, how are the houses priced? I even feel like I can answer this one, but I'll let you go. So are they being sold later? And if so, how are the houses priced?
Yeah, sure. Yes, they're being sold later. So we think of ZO as a service, Zillow Offers as a service. And our intent is to buy and then do light rehab, like paint and carpets kind of thing, and then put that back on the market to sell quickly. So the answer is we want to put it back on the market kind of as soon as possible to sell. So it is absolutely opening up inventory. And when we put it back on the market, we offer a full commission on the buy side and put it in that MLS to do so. And again, ZO, it makes sense for some sellers that are in a hurry, value kind of the time as the top priority and the flexibility that it creates. It's not for everybody, but when they do it, they can sell a home on their time frame, and then we get it and maybe spend a couple of weeks rehabbing and then putting it back on the market.
That's what I've seen here locally. If you guys close on a Monday, it seems like it's ready to go on the market by like 2 Fridays in. Like you guys do a little bit of getting it done. Like they're not sitting on them for a long time. This isn't like we're going to put them back on the market in a year. There's no shadow inventory going on.
That's right.
You guys are trying to you got to get this stuff back off your books again.
That's right. This is not a flipping model. This is simply more of a service to these sellers. And then it's to our advantage to sell them as quickly as possible afterwards. And maybe we make a small fraction of a profit. Our intent is to have it be profitable, right? But the game isn't to try to create. The focus is not the profit. The focus is the service to the sellers.
Yeah, and you guys aren't trying to make a 10% spread on these houses and
That's
get
right.
a lowball offer, right? You guys are playing very close to market price with a service fee backed out, and then you put it back on the market. It should be one of those houses that sell within a couple of days, just like most things in this particular market right now, from a pricing standpoint. And hopefully Absolutely. You covered the spread.
Absolutely. Yep. It has to, right? It has to be competitively priced or it's not going to sell.
Right. If that answered your question, I don't know if people want me using their names or not, so I'm not. But if it answered your question, great. If you have another one, if you want to go deeper in that, go ahead and ask away again. So, all right, I want to ask you about a couple of consumer trends real fast. You mentioned a couple of them a little bit ago about 3Ds getting more views. What other consumer trends is Zillow seeing? I love your guys' annual report.
Yeah.
Right. I missed not going to the Zillow event this past October because that's how I always got it each year, and is bound and is great. Is a great read. It's still available. Probably in research tab at this point.
I think it's you're 100% right. I think it's Zillow.com/report, and we're having one come out if it isn't already for 2021. So
okay, fantastic. Yeah. So, but what other consumer trends, which is always one of the things that I found really interesting in there, what consumer trends are you seeing as well? What's happening out there? What are buyers and sellers like? What's up?
Yeah, sure. Great. Awesome. So a couple little fun facts, right? Homes that are in this COVID world that we all know, I mean, people are stretching out a little bit and they want more space, especially coming from urban areas. Kid-friendly homes, therefore, go fast and sell for more. Okay, and so a couple data points. Properties with treehouse or with garage in the description sold or got a 2.2% premium over those that did not. Homes with backyards sell 5 times faster than those that don't have backyards. And I think, the great reshuffling, this concept of people moving, can often be combined with the thought of folks relocating to the suburbs, right? Moving out of the city and relocating to the suburbs, which is absolutely true. I mean, but I don't know that that's so specific to COVID. I think COVID is getting people excited just about moving first and foremost. And maybe it's to find more space, but maybe it's to be closer to something that they really enjoy from a lifestyle standpoint. And a lot of the trends that we're seeing are folks, wanting to be close to an urban center, but have more space around them to be able to live in, but still have the access to the urban spots. And so we did a research study with Yelp. We kind of combined forces and came out with a list, and I can make this available too, a list of the top areas. And this might surprise you guys, but it made a list of the top best affordable suburbs with a city vibe. Okay, so that's the criteria. And the California spot was Lancaster, California. So I don't know if that is resonates with folks, but that's what we identified
crazy, right?
as
so
an area.
Because you can go out there by, like, if you're going to Lancaster, you're not just buying square footage, you're buying acreage, right? Is what that means. And people are pointing like, I can get an acre of land. I can really get more opportunity to like really spread out outside of my 8,000 square foot lot, right? Because if you're going out to Lancaster, you're definitely getting, and you can get from Lancaster, it is a high desert, but you can get into urban within the hour, right? But you can really spread out. And so I think that's where we're seeing a lot of people do that kind of thing, right?
We are. And like, we're also seeing people, we're seeing that. We're also seeing people come to the middle of the country, right? Places like Columbus, Ohio, Nashville, Austin. I mean, Austin and Nashville have been in the, spotlight for a long time. They're super hot, but like even Columbus, I don't know if anybody's been there lately, but it's an awesome city, smaller city. And the prices are reasonable, especially like when you get out to the suburbs, especially for folks coming from the coastal areas. So again, I think as prices continue to climb and work becomes more flexible, I think all of those things are going to continue to make people interested in moving, and have people reshuffle around the country.
Cool. I want to jump into one last thing here. Coming soon.
Yeah.
Coming soon, I think, isn't a big topic. It's a kind of a big topic. It's not as big as it's going to continue to get. I think it's going to continue to pick up some steam as a conversation point. So what do you think about coming soons? And I wonder what that answer, what does TG think? Or does Zillow think? I don't really know how to ask that question. So you might not even know what Zillow thinks, but coming soons in this world that we have right now, things going on, what's going on with that? What do you think about that?
I'm going to take a personal, I mean, you can post coming soons on Zillow for the record. So, but I'm going to take a personal approach to that answer. And I like coming soons as by definition of what coming soons really are, as a pre-marketing vehicle, right? I think they're super powerful especially in a hot market, to let buyers know about an upcoming property and generate interest. A common exercise is to see a coming soon come on Thursday and say, hey, this is available this weekend. We'll review offers by Sunday, kind of thing, right? And so I think it's great. And this isn't with my Zillow hat on. Obviously at Zillow, we want all the listings to be displayed to consumers. We think that's best for the consumers. I don't personally understand the concept of the pocket listing or even the office exclusives and why those are better for the customer or the consumer. Like I don't, when you have pockets of off-market listings, and sure, some sellers will want privacy, absolutely. And there's exceptions for those folks. But I know that there's a trend to see more and more of these kind of quote unquote pocket listings. I think, Redfin came out with an article I read on Inman to say that the numbers were increasing. And I don't know if that's good for the end buyers and sellers.
Yeah. If you only have 5 people see a home and 5 people write offers, because that's about the statistic right now, right? Okay, maybe 4 of the 5 write offers.
Yeah.
But you only have 4 offers come in. Are you going to drive the price as high for the seller? If you in fact have the listing, that's your job, right? To drive that price as high as you possibly can for the seller. Yep. Versus if you had 40 offers. Right. On 50 people coming through, right? And so does it benefit the seller? Probably not. Does it benefit the buyer? Possibly. Does it benefit the real estate agent? Perhaps, if they're trying to get both sides of that transaction by limiting supply to the seller, obviously, but it's also a good card to do not pass go directly to jail, right? So it's like a monopoly in real life. But it doesn't benefit the seller, if you're the listing agent, that's your job, is to get them the most offers and the highest net dollar in their pocket, right? And the coming soons, if not done properly, don't do that. If the coming soon can do that, the pocket listings don't do that.
Right. And coming soons were being abused. I see a comment like, coming soons were being abused as, like, I think the definition of coming soon is it's not to be shown, right? And it's pre-marketing, right? And so, I think there's been cases of that's happened, and it's not new. But anyway, I think
it's a good tool, right? Because originally, here's the problem: you take a listing on Sunday night, and according to the old MLS rules, it had to be live by let's just call it Tuesday. And of course, your photographer isn't even coming out until Thursday of the next week, potentially, because you still have the stager going out on Friday and you have some stuff being done, but you've got a listing that you're sitting on. So now you're legally obligated to put it out there with sort of the whole shebang, right? So you got to put up bad pictures. And then again, Zillow wasn't an MLS member then. So the pictures that were bad might stay there forever because they weren't getting the live feed. And so this whole coming soon came about as a way to, hey, you can say you're getting it. You don't got to jump through all those hoops to get everything done in 48 hours. You can set the time frame now, get it staged, get it photographed, make your video, and do your listing launch 7, 10, 11 days later, whatever it was, without having to like just rush everything and do a poor job for the seller. You could do a full marketing campaign this way. So that was the intent, and it was a great intent. I think it was a really good idea. So people weren't like, I just got to put up a bad iPhone photo now because I'm required to have a picture in 48 hours type deal. So, but it has been abused a little bit by some other people. It has been, the properties have been shown sometimes when they're not supposed to be being shown. So like all things, I think the intent was really good. The execution wasn't perfect. And so I think, and I hear rumblings that different MLSs, associations, at the local and state levels are trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? We love the idea, but it didn't work perfectly. So I believe the powers that be is way beyond our pay grades, are trying to figure that out.
That's right. Yeah. And there's a clear cooperation policy, right? 8.0 from NAR that really put a good step forward to just put some rules around coming soons, and they have to live in the MLS, and the MLS will then set how long out they can actually be posted. I think by default it's 24 hours. I think that's all good. I think that policy could go a little further. There's office exclusives, which aren't public listings, and I just question whether that's great for the end consumer. So by and large, but anyway, so that's what I think.
I would like to leave everybody with this. We've had a lot of questions, a lot of interaction. Sometimes, TG, just so you know, you had a lot of engagement. Sometimes
awesome.
Literally pulling teeth to get somebody to like, I will actually sometimes be on my phone texting like, yo, throw me a softball right now to a buddy of mine who might be on or something. Like, let's get a question going, because everyone's just like listening. Everyone was really engaged this one, so I appreciated that.
Thank you, everyone.
But I would tell you everybody who's watching, you've heard me say this probably before over the years, several years ago. Geez, it's been 6 years now, maybe 7 years. Sherry Chris, who's like one of my business idols with Realogy.
So great.
Said, it's not about competition. It's not about competing. It's about collaboration. It's about collaborating. Yeah. And that was meant for, and Realogy, as she was talking about, was specifically talking about Zillow in this specific thing. And she was saying that Realogy was the very first major franchise to form a partnership, right, to collaborate with Zillow. And that was probably a decade now at this point ago, rather than worrying about trying to compete. Like, let's find a way to collaborate with them rather than compete. And it's not just with Zillow, it's with all things in this business. I think sometimes it's with other agents. It's with other brokers. It's with companies like Zillow yourself. It's with, it's not about competing. It's about collaborating. That's where the true wins come in. And we probably 100%. Adopted that theory 5, 6, 7 years ago now it's been, and it is by and large reaped incredible, amazing results for us, rather than always worrying about how to compete, just figuring out ways to collaborate. And so that'd be my takeaway for everybody in this is like, always have your eyes open for ways, new ways, innovative ways to continue to break new ground, collaborate in a new, unique way with no matter who you're working with.
Love it, Dan. Amen. And I think to the benefit of the customer, right? There's enough business to go around, and there always has been, and there always will be. And we can work together to the benefit of sellers and buyers and customers. And I'll just quickly say that, like, heading into the future for Zillow, I'm really excited because we're going to take our collaboration to another level with our Flex product, right? We are more closely aligned with our partners to provide amazing service to customers. The folks that come to our site, if we can partner with the best agents and agents to service those customers, we're all going to win. and we're in it towards the transaction. So we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We're just at the starting line, and really look forward to learning from our partners and working with the industry to create a better experience for the consumers.
Awesome. TG, thank you for being here. I know it's a little bit later for us. It's still morning time for you in the afternoon. In Jersey, it's a little bit later in the day. So thank you for carving out time to do this. As always, I appreciate it. And one of these days we'll get to see each other in real life when that kind of travel and events and stuff happen. And I look forward to that. Everybody who's on, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you're checking the OCR calendar. I have another, let me see. I have an interview coming up next month, the second week of June, I believe. That would be, and we're going to be doing it with Eric, and it's going to be on crypto, but not on crypto, on blockchain. And I think if you guys are confused about blockchain and what blockchain is and how blockchain is going to evolve in this real estate space of ours and how it's going to become a player and something that we're going to be using. And I don't know about everybody else, but blockchain blows my mind. Like, I can't even hardly get my head around it. And so we're going to have a guest in June that is going to be going over all things blockchain, specifically to how it's going to impact and change the real estate market. It's June 23rd is when it's going to be, with Eric Bryant, right? And he's a local guy here in Southern California, actually up in Irvine. So Eric Bryant, June 23rd is when it'll be, 10 a.m. everybody. That's right. We moved it from the second week to the third week. Now that I'm thinking about that, because there's a conflict with something. So put that on your calendar, show up for that one. It is going to be great. Thank you guys and gals for being here. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you for the questions. I know we didn't get them all answered. Some of them were kind of like not really on topic, and we're out of time. We're 2 minutes over. So thank you very much. TG, thank you. OCR,
thank you so much.
Take us out of here.